All right, today we're going to tackle a subject that could literally change the future of your wallet, the really intense debate over a US digital dollar. So let me just ask you this straight up. Is that cash you've got on you right now about to become an antique? And that's not just a wild question. The US government is seriously exploring creating its own digital currency. And trust me, the fallout from that would be massive for every single one of us.
Okay, so before we can even get into the pros and cons, we've got to be on the same page. What in the world are we even talking about? What is a central bank digital currency, or a CBDC?
So the official definition from the Federal Reserve is pretty dry. It calls it a digital liability of a central bank. Okay, what does that mean in plain English? Just think of it as digital cash. You know how a physical dollar bill is basically a direct IOU from the central bank? Well, a digital dollar would be the exact same thing, just, living on your phone.
And right about now, you're probably thinking, hold on a second. I use Venmo, I use Apple Pay, I tap my card everywhere. My money's already digital. And you know what? That is a great point. But there's a really, really crucial difference here.
Let's break it down. Right now, there are basically three flavors of digital money. First, there's the money in your bank account. When you use Zelle, it's just a digital IOU from a commercial bank, like Chase or Bank of America. It's private company money. Then, way over on the other end of the spectrum, you've got crypto, like Bitcoin. It's totally decentralized, no one's in charge, and its value, as we know, can be an absolute roller coaster. A CBDC would be a third, totally separate thing. It would be a direct IOU from the central bank itself, from the government, designed to be perfectly stable, just like a dollar bill.
So why even do this? If our current system kinda works, what's the point? Well, let's look at the argument for creating a digital dollar because proponents have a pretty compelling list. Supporters say, for one, it could make our payment system way more efficient. We're talking instant, real-time settlements. It might also help promote financial inclusion, giving folks who don't use traditional banks a way into the digital economy. Then there are other big potential wins, like making it cheaper and faster to send money overseas. And maybe the biggest reason of all, making sure the US dollar stays the king of the hill in a world that's rapidly going digital. But, and this is a huge but, for every potential good thing you hear, critics are raising some incredibly serious alarms. And this is really where the debate gets white hot. A lot of these powerful arguments against a CBDC are laid out really clearly in a policy paper from the House Republican Policy Committee. And to put it lightly, they don't see this as some cool new tech. They see it as a fundamental threat. And this one quote really gets to the absolute core of their fear. They write that the government could wield the power of CBDCs to conduct a politically motivated operation. They're talking about the potential for this to become a tool of government control over your personal finances. And it all boils down to this really important, kind of chilling concept: programmable money. See, a dollar is a dollar. It's anonymous. You can use it for whatever you want. But a CBDC could have rules written directly into the code of the money itself. This is the single biggest difference, and it's where the deepest concerns come from. So this is what critics are calling the slippery slope. They worry that once the government creates a CBDC, maybe the next step is to put limits on things they don't like, say buying too much gasoline. And the nightmare scenario? They could just freeze the accounts of people involved in a political protest, kind of like what we saw happen with the trucker convoys in Canada. So what we have here is a classic privacy trade-off. Proponents will tell you, look, to stop crime and money laundering, a CBDC has to be tied to your identity. It can't be totally anonymous. But critics fire right back, saying, wait a minute, you want to create a central government ledger of every single purchase everyone makes? That's not just a giant blinking target for hackers, it's giving the government a perfect surveillance tool. Now, it's so important to understand that the US isn't having this debate in a bubble. This isn't just a theoretical exercise. The reason this is so urgent is because there is a massive global trend underway. Just let this number sink in for a second. 134. That's the number of countries that are already exploring or actively developing a CBDC. We are talking about countries that make up over 98% of the entire global economy. This is happening. And if you look around, you'll see China is way out ahead of the major economies. They're already testing their digital yuan with hundreds of millions of people. Some smaller countries, like the Bahamas and Nigeria, have already fully launched theirs. And you better believe countries like Russia and China see this as a strategic tool to challenge the dominance of the US dollar on the world stage. Okay, so with this global race going on in the background, where does that leave the United States right now? Well, the simple answer is we're stuck.
We are at a crossroads with deep, deep divisions right inside the government.
And this slide just perfectly captures the political stalemate. Back in 2022, the Biden administration put out an executive order that basically said we need to urgently explore a CBDC. But in total contrast, you have major political opponents, including former President Trump, vowing to never allow one. So it's a complete partisan standoff.
And while all that political drama is happening, the Federal Reserve itself, the institution that would actually have to build this thing, has been crystal clear. They've stated, and I'm quoting here, that they will not move forward without clear support from the executive branch and from Congress, and ideally, a brand new law authorizing it. In other words, the Fed isn't going to do this on their own. And speaking of Congress, they're definitely weighing in. There are already bills being debated, and some have even passed the House, that would try to preemptively ban the Fed from ever issuing a CBDC directly to individuals. It all comes back to those deep-seated privacy concerns we talked about.
Which brings us right back to the central question at the heart of this whole thing. As we peer into the future, is a digital dollar the key to ultimate convenience and a super efficient financial system? Or is it a Trojan horse for total government control over your money? The answer to that question is going to define the future of money as we know it.